Bro.
You can't talk about it right now?
You have to go on the immortality bus if you want to know about that.
Ooh. Welcome, everybody, to episode 84 of 1 Million of the Serial Chillers podcast from the SUPRnetwork Studio. I am here with Hella Greg. He's in the SUPRnetwork bunker, 66.6 feet directly below us. How goes it, Hella Greg?
I am fuming.
I feel like you've answered that more than once this so far. What's wrong?
I'm furious. Casey's cult stealing ideas from my cult before I can get my cult off the ground.
Hey, that's show business, baby. So, I'm sorry to hear that you're fuming, but you're ready to do this shit?
Let's do it. I need funding.
All right. Well, speaking of that, patreon.com/Serial Chillers podcast. You can give as little as $1 a month of the show. The Facebook,
or you can fund a cult.
Yeah. Facebook is Serial Chillers podcast. Facebook group is the same. So is the Instagram. So is the Gmail. The Twitter is @Chillers Podcast. You can buy some stickers at serialchillerspodcast.com or the SUPRnetwork.com. It all goes to the same place. Call or text the show, 1-805-666-2513. You can also get some t-shirt and other merch, things of that nature. What else is on there? We put onesies on there, so if you want some baby shit with murder stuff on it,
For real?
Yeah, it's on there. You can get some Serial Chillers onesies these days. So you can check that out at Threadless. SerialChillersPodcast.threadless.com. SUPRnetwork, man. Look at the other things like Super Simpsons show. We out there. We doing this shit. Okay, we have guests. What is he really a guest? We have a little
Just, like a resident.
Yeah, a resident. Welcome. Yes.
So, Patreon, listen up.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
If you fund $1,000 a month, I will give you the first secret to the Serial Chillers cult. All you have to do is pay $1,000 a month. It could be 1 month. I don't care. But that first $1,000 Patreon pledge.
I think it should be at least a year.
Yeah, sure. 1 year.
The rule has been set. It is in stone.
I will give you the first secret to our cult. It's going to cost you a few grand extra on top of every step after that.
Yeah, we all know how Scientology
Yeah, what are you,
works.
Scientologists?
They just have a really good business model. But the truths that we're going to bring to this cult are going to blow your mind.
Actually, what Biggfoot is doing is actually not officially affiliated at all with Serial Chillers Podcast. So good looking what you're doing there. Welcome back, Bigfoot. Here, what are you, fourth time? Third time? Third time. Welcome back, Josh.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Sorry, I don't have a... Here, we'll give you like a...
That's all right.
Here we go. And here for, he's been here like a half dozen times now. Welcome back, Robbie.
Hello.
Here.
Let me get one.
Hello!
Oh,
There you go.
I'm not going to do it if you're going to say that voice.
It's either me or the voice.
Hello. Hola.
Let's just put a bunch of copyrighted stuff in the show tonight.
My bad.
Oh, come on. Like, Spotify's going to get...
I was kidding. That was a joke. I am joke.
Soviet Russian joke at you.
So, man, yeah, fuck, guys. I feel rusty, even though I've been doing this for 4 weeks now. We've been back for 4 weeks. So, you guys are fucking veterans at this point. You guys know how it goes down.
Because you didn't stretch.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. God dang it. So you guys know how it works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
Whose story is first, mine or Josh's?
Welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Tell me, you guys, we have a killer today. Not technically serial, but with a large number of kills in the way that I like to refer to, and everybody does, an angel of death.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yes. Or I believe Fuckface, Dr. Fuckfaces is how we've really gone about it for most of the time.
PhD.
Well, that's debatable because it's Kevorkian, a so-called fuckface.
We're not here talking about Kevorkian, all right? Is this the moral hour? Is that what we're doing?
I'm just asking.
I don't know. This definitely isn't that. How about I just make that my opinion? That this is nothing like that at all.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So today's killer, Angel of Death, Donald Harvey.
Good old Don Harv.
Nope. Okay. You guys know how this shit starts. Question number 1. In what year was Donald Harvey born?
Whole birthday, right?
Nah, just give me the year. I'm over that now.
Too many numbers.
We've got 20 questions here today, guys. 20 questions.
Buckle up, buckaroos. It's going to be a long one.
Okay.
Buckaroo Banzai?
Robbie said 1936.
36.
42
Yes,
says
sir.
Josh. 72 says Bigfoot. 250 points for Josh.
Yes.
Because Donald Harvey was born April 15th, 1952.
Oh, snap.
Trying to get that second victory.
That second harvest?
Oh, the best harvest.
Is it?
The most delicious.
So, on April 15th, 1952, he is born in Boonville, Kentucky, and he was the first of 3 children. In October of 1952, he's 6 months old and gets a fairly serious head injury when his father fell asleep, holding him in his arms on the couch, dropped him, straight knocked him on the head.
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like his dad literally fell asleep and landed on the kid.
I think, they were napping on the couch and his dad just sort of relaxed, man, dropped the baby. It could happen to anyone. So he didn't seem to be seriously injured, although at 6 months old, that soft spot still
Pretty
man.
soft.
Yeah, your skull's still in like a lot of different pieces. So a few years later, 1957, he's going to have another significant head injury when he's 5 years old, when he falls off the running board of a truck. He didn't lose consciousness, but he ran into he fell off the running board and into the fender, and he got a huge gash 5 inches long on the back of his head. So you're talking about a 5-year-old. That's like across the entire back of their tiny little stupid head. Yeah. Fucking dumb suicide machine kids. As a father of a fucking
So this person is
3
not
and 4-year-old
going to become a killer because if I learned anything in math, a double negative is a positive.
Oh, snap, snap.
That ain't not always correct.
So between the ages of 4 and 20, he's going to be also sexually abused by his Uncle Wayne, who was his mother's half brother. Why does Uncle Wayne just sound like someone who might?
And why did it go until he was in his 20s?
Yeah. Uncle Wayne primarily used Donald as an aid to masturbation, but he also forced him to engage in oral sex. He was
Until he was 20.
Forced a 20-year-old.
That's just consensual at that point. Like,
What do you suppose he means by
it's like a common law marriage.
I'm going to need another drink.
We're in fine form tonight, Yowie.
I just don't. So yes, he's also going to be sexually abused by an older neighbor named Dan Thomas. He noted later that Dan gave him money.
His dad's name is Dan Thompson.
Yeah. Not related.
No, I swear it's a different guy.
What was your dad doing between 57 and 72?
I think he was maybe 8 years old, molesting someone apparently.
He would note later that he liked that Dan would give him money. So, you know.
So he was a prostitute. He was a gigolo.
Just a gigolo.
Starting at the age of 5, I suppose.
An entrepreneur.
Damn it! I was just.
He knew he was gifted at something.
Some kids start a lemonade stand. Some kids suck dick for money.
He's not gay, but $2 is $2.
And in the 50s, that's a lot.
That's a good business plan.
In April of 1968, he's now 16 years old. He's going to receive a diploma from the American School, the correspondence school in Chicago, and obtain his GED later that year. In 1968, later, he will have his first sexual encounter, which was his first partner was a woman, but he did not seem to enjoy it very much. In 1969, at 17 years old, he started an occasional relationship with a man named James Peluso, which continued for about 15 years, on and off. In April of 1960, in 1969, he started an occasional relationship with James Peluso. 1970, he left home and moved to London, Kentucky. Oh, you see, for a second, you were like, what? Oh, okay. No. So, he moves to London, Kentucky. Question number 2. When he moved to Kentucky, what did he initially do for work? He's just an 18-year-old, spread his wings, moved out to London, Kentucky. Was he a hospital orderly, a school custodian, a used car salesman, or a cemetery caretaker? Did he get right into healthcare as his angel of death? Did the destiny start at 18? Did he clean up some schools for a while, slang some used cars, or take care of those cemeteries?
Do you suppose the people in London, Kentucky are like, yep, that's our sister city?
I don't know. They may be.
I'll tell you one thing. Kentucky doesn't surrender. So they got that going for them.
Well, you should talk to the people of Paris, Texas.
Just get over there. Okay. So, school custodian said Robbie. Josh said he took care of cemeteries. And Bigfoot also said... school custodian on this one, nobody's getting points. Because, he went right into the hospital work and became an orderly at 18 years old. Right into London, Kentucky. Started work at Marymount Hospital on May 11th. He moved in with this dude named Randy White. So he's 18. I think Randy White was like in his early 40s. And on May 15th, he was forcibly raped by his roommate, Randy White. Donald Harvey was not a physically imposing gentleman. He was quite small. On May 30th, question number 3, he would commit his first major crime. What would it be? Is it A, armed robbery, B, breaking and entering, C, possession of a controlled substance, or D, murder? All right, Bigfoot says armed robbery. Josh and Robbie both said breaking and entering. Nobody's going to get any points because on May 30th, 1970, Donald Harvey would get his first kill on a man named Logan Evans, who was 88 years old, with a sheet of blue plastic and a pillow. So he went plastic to the face, pillow over it. You're not breathing through a pillow if there's plastic there. He listened to his heart rate with his stethoscope until he knew that the patient was dead. He disposed of the plastic and cleaned him up, dressing him in a clean hospital gown. He had no fear of getting caught and notified the nurse on duty that Logan had stopped breathing. So he fucking snuffed him out, cleaned up real quick, went out as the orderly and was like, "Nurse, this guy is not breathing in here." Hey. And yeah, exactly. And that was his, remember, he started work on May 11th. This was May 30th.
Jesus.
So he's like not even off of his probationary period. And
off and fools.
Yeah.
And he has no scaling up? He just straight murks someone?
To the face.
He's like
His scaling up was having sex with Uncle Wayne until
Yeah, I
he
was gonna say
20.
he's just been like constantly sexually abused. Like most of his life has been accepting sexual abuse.
It's weird.
So,
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think
He finally had a position of power
that's
over
what
somebody
I'm
who
just
took
gonna
it
say.
back.
It was his first time that like he was getting to make the choices, and he was the one with power because to this point he definitely had not been.
Do you think as an
You like
18-year-old
Uncle
orderly,
Wayne?
he was just tired of that old people smell? He was like,
It's
"Ah,
not
this, like,
completely
let's just-"
impossible, I suppose. It's not a great smell.
I mean, as a 33-year-old, when I go in the hospital, I'm like, man, it smells like old people in here. Like, it's kind of disgusting, you know?
Dog, that's insensitive.
Just trying to take out the trash.
And cleaning supplies.
So the next day, on May 31st, 1970, he accidentally killed James Tyree. Tyree was 69, and he used the wrong size
nice.
catheter. He used the wrong size catheter on the man. Tyree let him proceed, but then yelled to take it out when he realized that something was wrong. Donald then used the heel of his hand to control him. Fucking hand in the solar plex, one on the catheter. Until the man vomited blood and eventually died.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. On June 22nd, 1970, he would kill Elizabeth Wyatt, who was 42 years old. She was what he considered to be his first mercy kill, and he was aware that she was praying to die. Question number 4. How would he commit this mercy killing? Would he inject her with an overdose of her pain meds, turn down her oxygen supply, smother her, or give her an air embolism? Inject her with an overdose of pain meds, turn down the oxygen supply, smother her, air embolism. Robbie said inject her with an overdose. You said B, right?
Yes, sir.
Turn down her oxygen supply, and you said
D's
air
nuts.
embolism. Josh is going to get 250 points. Because, yes, he said that she told him that she wished she could die. So, that night, he turned her oxygen supply down to almost none in order to kill her. 4 hours later, a nurse would find her dead.
Gosh.
So, Josh takes 250 points, goes up 500 with a couple other goose eggs on the board. Don't worry,
Operation
guys.
Don't get shut out.
With 16 questions to go. Yeah, there's 20 this evening. Yeah. You guys are.
I don't speak Spanish.
You guys,
Oh, Baxter.
poop in the refrigerator, and you ate a whole wheel of cheese.
I'm not even mad.
So yeah, he said that this woman wished for death. He was like, all right. Knock down the oxygen to where it's just barely still flowing. A nurse finds her several hours later. About 2 months later, he would kill Eugene McQueen, who was 43, by turning him on his stomach when he knew he wasn't supposed to, and Eugene drowned in some of his own body fluids.
Oh,
So essentially, he knew this dude couldn't be flipped over, flipped him over till he drowned. He flipped him back over and then informed a nurse that McQueen, quote, looked bad, but she said for him to continue the work. So essentially, this guy's dead. He knows it. He told the nurse, but the nurse is like so busy. She's like, yeah, he looks bad, but like finish, bathing him and get the thing done. So he went and bathed the dead man in order to avoid suspicion. I think, to me, it sounds a lot more like the hospital was like, oh, fuck, all right, just go through the paces and, we'll figure it out once he's clean and back in a room.
yeah.
I mean, this is number what that he's discovered they were dead, and he managed to be by himself all these times. It's just
I don't
crazy.
know how often
Yeah, but
people
he
die in
also seems-
hospitals.
He seems to be working with people who are probably on the verge of life or death, like at any given minute.
For the most
Yeah.
part, Eugene McQueen was only 43. Had some obvious
I mean,
issues going on, but
He just happened to be the one that kept finding these people dead.
Well, that's just it. Is like he found this one, but the other one, he just went and was like, I think he's having trouble breathing, and then the other one he just dipped out on it. And another nurse found it 4 hours later. So in a hospital, I would imagine it's not incredibly uncommon if you're taking care of the old ones to be like, hey, this one's in bad shape.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And he's only 3 deep and really only on top of like one of them.
Right.
Well, for now.
For now.
For as long as he worked at Marymount, the doctors and nurses would tease him for, at one point, bathing a dead man. Is that what goes down at hospitals? Like you bathe the
Probably,
dead
I
dude,
mean-
and the doctor's like, yeah, fucking dead guy, bath guy.
Need to ask
You sponged his nuts, bro.
You didn't you? Didn't you, dude? Yeah, it's pretty.
I mean, imagine working at a hospital all the time, though. Like, you got to see so much crazy stuff. You have to laugh.
No,
at,
that's
like,
what I was
whatever.
just. That's what I was just thinking. Is like, it's just like, you know. Mostly, I've worked retail, so
Right.
It's like the same as me talking shit on a customer when they walk out the door or whatever. Yeah. It's just it's the norm at some point there. Maybe not bathing a dead guy, but death itself.
Someone's got to do it eventually, so why not be the orderly?
Yeah. So I just think it's pretty. It just kind of keeps going on with his like bullied, beat down, sexually abused, bathes a dead guy, and everybody like they can't even professionally let it go. It's this is Donald Harvey. He once bathed a dead guy. Like that's what they said. It's like he would he would get introduced like that. He was walking through the halls of the hospital like he was walking through the halls of a school and getting like, it's that guy. And you know.
I like to imagine the doctors walking by, but they have like letters on the sleeves of their lab coats, and they just like push them into the lockers.
Nerd.
July 12th, 1970, he says that he accidentally killed a man named Harvey Williams, who was 82, by using a faulty gas tank. The man would go into cardiac arrest and die. So what I think was happening is that he was like using this bad oxygen tank when he wanted to, you know, and he got like there were certain people that he meant to kill and certain people that he did not. And this is one of the guys that he had not intended to kill, but accidentally used his kill a guy oxygen tank. Yeah, exactly.
It's like bonus.
Can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. You know?
12 days later, on July 24th, he killed Ben Gilbert, who was 81. This was significant because it was his first premeditated murder. Ben, at one point, had knocked Donald unconscious with a bedpan and poured its contents over him, claiming that he thought Donald was a burglar. He came into his hospital room, like he went to work on him. He pretended to be asleep and bashed him over the head with a bedpan and then fucking dumped it on him. So Donald went home.
Oh,
That one feels justified.
Donald went home and slept it off, and obviously realized that was stupid. Not going to do that. No, what he actually did was retaliate by using a size number 20 catheter instead of the smaller number 18 for men. So he used essentially like a women's size catheter instead of the men's size catheter, and he used like the largest of the women's size catheter, and this guy needed towards the smallest of the men's. So he pretty much just jammed this thing
Up his pee hole.
Yeah, but wait, there's more.
It gets worse.
So much worse.
I don't want it.
He then straightened out a coat hanger and shoved the wire through the catheter up about 2 feet, puncturing the man's bladder and bowel. The man would then go into instant shock, breaking into a cold sweat and going into a coma. Harvey then quickly disposed of the wire and replaced the number 20 catheter with an 18. July 28th, 1970, Ben Gilbert died from the injuries he received from the wire.
No fucking shit.
Yeah.
More wire hangers.
Yeah. So, fuck, man. That's got to be like one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. But also, like we were talking about, these are a lot of much older people. So at 81, when this guy just happened to die in the hospital and he wasn't doing really well, they're not doing autopsies.
Yeah, they're not like, oh, this guy has a pinhole-sized
exactly.
laceration through
in his liver and bowel. Yeah, it just wasn't something that was... Yeah, so that's fucking crazy. And when I read that, I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, somebody made this up. And I went and looked, and it was...
Everywhere you looked.
Yeah, so it was
that's rough.
In 1970, right after the this Ben Gilbert murder, he would start a 7-month relationship with a man named Vernon Midden. Question number 5. What did Vernon do for work? Was he A, crime scene cleanup, B, a butcher, C, an undertaker, or D, a pediatrician? crime scene cleanup, butcher, undertaker, pediatrician. Casey says crime scene cleanup, pediatrician from both Josh and Robbie. The zeros will continue. Nobody's getting points on that one.
You're getting real good at this, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you. He was an undertaker. Yeah.
Like the Undertaker?
Yes. How did you know? That's what I was going to say.
Wow.
So Vernon was an undertaker. He was also married with children, not the fun Al Bundy kind either. Vernon taught Donald lots of ins and outs about how the body reacts when certain things are done to it, like when it is smothered. So I guess that's just some knowledge you have as an undertaker, so you can pass that down if you want. Any undertakers out there listening to this right now in their morgue, please holler. Let us know. What's up? So this would come in handy when he was trying to get away with his murders in the future, because, yes, we're not done. There's going to be more. Later in 1970, Vernon is introduced Donald to the occult. But he would not let him take part in the rituals because he was not a member. So he just fucking cock-teased him with the occult, dude. He's like, hey, this is what it's like.
I got this esoteric knowledge, bro.
But you can't touch. So on August 15th, 1970, he killed Maud Nichols using a faulty oxygen tank. She had been sent there with bed sores so bad that maggots crawled in the sores, and no one wanted to give her care. So he killed her with, quote, the faulty tank. So it was, I mean...
Do you have like a tank just labeled like "Do not use"?
I think he does in
for
his head.
Donald Harvey only.
He knows where that tank's at. On August 30th, he killed William Bowling, who was 58, by not turning his oxygen on at all. He had been brought to the hospital due to difficulty breathing, and Donald's action was intentional but spontaneous. He wanted to end the patient's struggles to breathe, and the man would eventually die of a massive heart attack due to the no oxygen. Yeah. So this guy is just sort of getting away with it all and playing judge, jury, and executioner, and mostly executioner, it seems.
Yeah.
Just ganking them in terrible ways.
Yeah, I mean, turning your oxygen down...
It's got to be like drowning.
Unless you're unconscious.
They say drowning is peaceful, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're unconscious, I imagine having your oxygen turned down is like a pretty decent way to go. Like that would, you just probably...
It's like sleep apnea. All of a sudden you're just like...
says drowning
I was
people?
just gonna say that. Who says drowning is peaceful?
Serial
drowning is
killers?
peaceful?
Yeah, what the fuck? That sounds like one of the worst ways to die.
Yeah.
I mean, look it up, bro.
Waterboarding doesn't look very peaceful.
100%.
Well, you don't actually drown. That's why it's not peaceful. You stay alive. Once you're dead, like you just slip away and...
Yeah, but I'm struggling, right?
Not once you inhale all the water. You're struggling to not breathe in, but once you breathe in, I think it's just... After that, that's all.
After that, some Hans Zimmer shit starts playing, and you just go like...
Yeah.
You just sink to the bottom.
Yeah. Let's go DiCaprio on it, just sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
Am
I've
I
seen
the
that
only
movie.
one that... You've heard that, right? That drowning's peaceful?
I've
heard it.
I don't know
I've heard
that I
it.
have, but that doesn't mean that you haven't or that it isn't true.
I don't know.
I don't have all the world's knowledge in here, Casey.
I
I
might
know it
find out
might
one
seem
day.
like
I
that.
don't know. I don't know how I go out. I might find out one day.
But I'll poke you with a stick, that's for sure.
Just to make sure.
Patreon, if you donate to Serial Chillers, they will use that to buy a gold stick to poke my dead body as my dying wish. Thank you.
Very good. Now it's on record, at least, so we have that. I'm pretty sure we could use this in court, too.
Yeah. My dying wish is just poke my body with a stick.
There we go.
And then push it down
That's all I
river.
want.
What, Greg?
Well, I was gonna say the problem is now we have to like buy a gold stick,
Gold-plated.
Gold
Gold-plated.
buy some dope stuff.
Gold-plated.
It's all right. Patreon pays for it.
Yeah, that $384 a month right now. Really. We just got to save for like 94 months, dude. Okay, so after the William Bowling murder, just what were you, like 2 months later, November 4th, 1970, he's going to kill Viola Reed Wyan, who was 63, using the faulty oxygen tank. He commented that she smelled bad. She was suffering from leukemia and electrolyte imbalance, so he decided to end her suffering and smelling, I guess. So he attempted to kill her by plastic and pillow, doing the old smother trick, but someone came in, so he had to stop. Also, I would like to know who the fuck came in and didn't realize he was fucking smothering someone.
Yeah.
He's just like, well, hey, Another pillow for you? Or this? No, I was just going to change out the trash bags, too, while I was in here. So
This guy was trying to fucking kill me.
No. I tripped and fell. Maybe that's what you thought. I see how you might seem that way.
It's because she's old. She's senile.
So since the smothering got interrupted, he went and got the old faulty oxygen tank and killed her that way. He's getting pretty good at that way. Not giving them oxygen.
That he's not hooking them up to the oxygen tank and like turning it down or whatever, or letting it leak out. Like when you say killed him with the oxygen tank, I like to imagine that he like just Mark McGuire's him right in the side of the head with like a little handheld oxygen tank.
You guys want to know the secrets, or you want to see me hit some dingers?
Dingers.
Yoink. So yeah, he's the faulty fucking oxygen tank. About a month later, December 7th, 1970, he's going to kill Margaret Harrison, who is 91. He seems like that's someone you might go with the turn down the oxygen on, but nope, he gave her an overdose of Demerol, morphine, and codeine that was intended for another patient. I think it was 2 other patients. So he had like her Demerol, which was a high dose because she was in a lot of pain. He got another morphine and another codeine and was like, and gave her all of them. She was 91.
That sounds peaceful.
Yeah, you might be right. He monitored her pulse until it dropped to 0 when she stopped breathing. So let's be really clear. So every killing that we just went through has spanned 7 months.
Woo.
We've covered 7 months of his life. He's still 18.
Oh my gosh.
Is in overdrive.
Yeah. And we like the berserker mode that last podcast talks about. Like people get there. He's not really serial killer. He's just going to work every day, and the opportunities are there, so he's taking them. Like technically the opportunity's there for all of us every day. He's just an opportunist, but it's
You're saying he's better than us.
That's positive. It's a real glass half full kind of.
That's how I'm looking at the world these days. Okay,
I could kill you, but I
don't. I mean, it's true, right?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So, 7-month time span. It's fucking nuts, man. January 1971, his relationship with Vernon Midden begins to sour. He became depressed and fantasized about embalming Vernon alive. So he's like learning all this shit from him, and now he's like, I kind of just want to replace your blood with fluids. And I think it's kind of giving him, it's making his peen pretty hard too. It's becoming like a fairly regular fantasy for him. Like he's falling asleep thinking about embalming his tumultuous relationship boyfriend, who's also married with children, not Al Bundy.
Oh God, it's giving me an Uncle Wayne.
January 9th, 1971. He killed Sam Carroll, who was 80, using the faulty oxygen tank. Sam had a pneumonia and obstruction in his small intestine, so Donald decided that he had suffered enough and retrieved the faulty oxygen tank. It was at this time that I realized that this might be the faulty tank. I got to hear before I realized, like, oh, he's going and like getting the special tank to switch it out, so it doesn't look like he turned it down. It like shows that it's getting the right amount of air, but it doesn't. It's leaking or whatever the case is. So I was like 3.5 hours into researching before I realized that he's like stashing this in a closet somewhere. And
right.
Like going and Also, I didn't know orderlies had so much fucking access
to a bunch of shit, apparently.
Yeah, at least in 1970.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure because of stuff like this, they probably don't know.
I don't know. Didn't an orderly get a comatose girl pregnant recently?
Yeah.
So on January 15th, 1971, he killed Maggie Rollins by smothering her with a pillow. He put the plastic bag between her face and did the pillow to avoid the fibers being in their airways. That was what he said. It wasn't for extra killing. It was to block pillow fibers from going into their airways and getting him caught.
This guy is in like 2006 right now.
Yeah,
with
and it's
CSI.
only 1971. So
Dang.
What's crazy even more is that she was there to be treated for a second-degree burn on her arm. So how's this not a fucking outrage to her family that she went in with second-degree burn on her arm and she came out dead?
She came out dead.
Yeah. Well, they get to leave eventually.
The second degree started the fire, and then they brought her in. The fire just continued.
It was like those
flames.
Tom Cruise used the witchcraft on me and get the fire off me.
She got close to one of our faulty oxygen tanks.
Yeah, just
went up.
ignited. So, January 23rd, 1971, he killed Silas Butner, who was 62, by using the faulty oxygen tank. Silas had been experiencing kidney problems, and he attempted to kill him multiple times by smothering him. But guess what happened? Each fucking time he was interrupted. So on more than one occasion, yes, he tried to smother a motherfucker, was interrupted, and no one said anything apparently. And then
Silas, look at me. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Fucking mouth shut.
and it'll be with a brand new oxygen tank.
How about that?
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. It was rough. Oxygen tank goes in. There's an autopsy in this case, but the true cause of death was never discovered. So, yeah, it's getting fun, right? Pretty much doesn't stop. It's just me listing
So,
ways that he killed people.
Did he confess to that? Like, is he confessing all this stuff? Because you said the true cause of death was never...
At the time, the true cause of death
okay.
for this person, because yes, it's not really a spoiler much. Like we said, in this case, there was an autopsy, but the true case was never discovered. Yeah, Greg, that's pretty much what it is. What happened in this episode was there were a few more murders that I thought that he did, and a few like that I left out because all of the ones that he would eventually admit to and be charged for are pretty much the stories I'm telling. Yep. So, January 26th, he killed John Combs, who was 68, using the faulty oxygen tank. John had a bad heart and difficulty breathing when he came into the hospital. He would also try to smother him with a plastic bag unsuccessfully, so returned again to the faulty oxygen tank. Donald described this killing again as a mercy killing. Does not, I mean, like, even if your intention is for mercy and you get the faulty smother for the fourth time, I feel like at that point, you're not really helping them go peacefully.
Well, the tank seems to just be like, it's gonna work.
Yeah,
But
I really want to do the.
I really want to cover
first.
him.
Yeah,
You know?
I see what you're saying.
Are all the faulty smothers someone walks in, or is it sometimes he just like gives
I think
up?
almost every time, maybe they don't walk in, but they walk by. Like he gets spooked. I think
Sometimes the pillow misfires.
you know, like if you've ever stayed overnight in the hospital, it's like that. Like,
Yeah.
someone comes into your room and checks in every fucking hour sometimes, like depending on what you're there for. And if not, someone's for sure walking by outside. And while it
Yeah.
might be dark in your room, it's super bright outside. And the crack under the floor, you can see so, you know, like I can imagine if you're in there fucking smothering someone every time a shadow passes the door, it's like, oh, fuck. You gotta stuff the trash bag into your pocket or whatever. So, yeah, this motherfucker. March 14th, he killed Milton Bryant Sasser, who was 90, by giving him an overdose of morphine that he had stolen from the cabinet at the nurse's station. He had been brought in for consecutive heart failures, and Donald made the mistake of trying to dispose of the hypodermic needle. Question number 6. There was a mistake. Where did he try to dispose of it? Was it in the receptionist's trash can? Oh shit, did she find it? Was it B, down the toilet, dumb as fuck? C, in another doctor's pocket? Or D, in his own goddamn locker?
I absolutely know which one I want it to be.
Was it the receptionist's trash can, down the toilet, in another doctor's pocket, or in his own locker? So he swooped the hypodermic needle and said, where the fuck am I going to put this? Robbie said, in the receptionist's trash can. Josh said, down the toilet. Bigfoot said, in his own goddamn locker. Josh is going to get another 250 points.
I'm in this guy's mind.
He on one. Because, yeah, he went and tried to fucking flush the hypodermic needle.
Fucking idiot.
In the toilet, obviously, stopped it up. Maintenance team comes out and they discover the needle, but I guess they didn't ask questions. I'm sure they probably just assumed some patient had stolen it and tried to fucking flush it down the toilet. So no problems. And this is, again, you guys listen to the show and are on the show often enough to know
Gets
that
away with it.
you fucking get away
Gets
with
away.
it. Yeah, you got nothing to worry about, man.
I am immortal.
These seem like the actions of a guy who had repeated head injuries as a child.
No.
They evened each other out, though, right?
Yeah.
You damage yourself on the first time. The second time, it fixes everything that was.
Yeah, if cartoons have taught me anything, you can hit yourself in the head and you forget something. Hit yourself in the head again. Just
I've
as
seen
hard,
Daffy.
and you'll remember.
Yeah, you want one lumps or two?
Two, please.
So March 27th. Oh, so essentially, they didn't make any connection between the needle and Sasser's death, so no problem for him. March 27th, 1971, the last day that he's going to work at Marymount Hospital. They say reason unknown. I think that everybody sitting at this table knows exactly what that fucking reason was. I think they're pretty suspicious of him doing some killings. I also think that the hospital...
They didn't want to get sued. They're like,
yeah, exactly. They're going to just like kind of cover up the deaths as best they can, get rid of what they believe to be the problem. So he would move to Frankfort, Kentucky to stay with a family he knew in June of 1971. What?
What the shit is with this guy moving to Kentucky towns with European names?
So he moved to Frankfort, Kentucky to stay with a family he knew. June 1971, he commits arson by setting fire to a bathroom of an empty apartment building where he was living with the family because he was depressed. This was an unsuccessful suicide attempt in which he tried to kill himself through asphyxiation or smoke inhalation.
The most peaceful way to go.
Yes.
No, that's drowning.
I'm still on board with like all the drugs.
Yeah. He was arrested and paid a fine. Question number 7. You guys have a chance to get on the board here.
Oh, I've had a chance to get on the board.
Yeah, this is a real one because someone has to score on this question.
Sick.
How much was the fine? Closer to the answer gets 250 points. If you nail it, it's 1,000.
What year is this?
1971.
If you can see it.
What am
I
I
have a
here?
question.
$221.
Yes, sir.
$47 from Bigfoot.
50.
Robbie says 50.
Son of a bitch.
Someone got 1,000 points,
Oh, God.
Robbie.
and it's Robbie.
Hey!
And just like that, Robbie moves into the lead 1,000 to 750. Bigfoot still not on the board. Plenty of time left. That was a huge strike, no doubt. You guys only have 13 questions to close the gap. So, he paid a $50 fine for the fire. So, good guess, Robbie. Congratulations. 1,000 points. Jumping in the lead there. That doesn't seem like a very steep fine for trying to set
It was
fire.
a small fire.
Yeah.
First offense.
Fair enough. Yeah, his first offense that he got caught for. He's already murdered like 7 people. So after that, he has his first heterosexual encounter since he was 17 with a woman named Ruth Ann Hodges, the daughter of the family that he was staying with while in Frankfurt. They were drunk, and he doesn't remember what happened, although he does remember being naked with her, he would say.
#me too.
9 months later, she had a son in which she named Donald, just like the father. At times, he has talked about his 2 children, but other times he has denied that they exist. So, this one passing time with this woman that he thinks he had done, it did happen. There was a child involved. The child was named Donald Jr.
His daddy's name's Forrest, too?
He was not very involved with this child's life, believe it or not. So at this point, he's, doing his thing. Later in 1971, he's going to be arrested on suspicion of burglary in an apartment building. The real reason for the arrest was to question Donald about the occult. So he was up to some weird shit and talking about it a lot. I think that was like everybody brought him in and was like, hey, it's pretty cool. You gotta shut the fuck up about it though. But he would be like at the store like, I just I just love the occult. Like that's just what I do. And it's 1971. This isn't an incredibly accepted practice. Not that it is today, but it's not the satanic panic any longer.
That Crowley era though.
Yeah, I don't think everybody was quite down with the Crowley. I know it seems weird, right?
Some people need to learn.
Super weird.
Yeah. So that was essentially like they thought that they could get something out of him, so they just arrested him on the suspicion of burglary. Donald would actually admit to the police while in custody that he had killed 15 people while working at Marymount Hospital, but none of the police officers believed him. They just thought he was some dumb kook who was talking shit to sound tough or to back up his occult background. Like, that was the way he did. He was like, yeah, I fucking killed 15 people. I used to work at the hospital. 15 people dead there because of me, and that's a sacrifice to the occult.
And instead of saying, like, hey, hospital,
Yeah.
ring, 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 ring.
Yeah. They were
Did
like,
all these people die?
They were like, shut
Yeah.
the fuck up, occult kook. We just have some other questions, and we know you're not the leader.
We want to know if you're sacrificing chickens.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. Maybe the police did call and follow up, and the hospital was like, nah, man.
Not me.
Truth. So things aren't going well for him. He's now being like pulled in, to talk about the occult, and they're making up other crimes to bring him in for it. So on June 16th, 1971, he decides he's going to join the military. Question number 8. What branch?
What year is this? 70 what?
71.
Is he still like 19?
He is 19.
I have a question before I write something down. Is the Peace Corps part of the military?
That doesn't sound very military-like if I were to...
No. Is it the Salvation Army?
So Robbie and Josh both said Army, right?
Yeah. Do
Bigfoot says the Navy. He said some other stuff too. I'm just going to let him keep that to himself, though.
Oh, no.
Hold it up.
So he enlisted in the Air Force.
In the Navy.
Come on, man. Say that. 70.
Yeah. Okay. So he enlists in the Air Force in June of 1971. Later, he's going to have a sexual encounter with this man named Jim while in the Air Force. This was significant because Donald said that he had an urge to kill Jim, but refrained because of his deterrent was fear of getting caught, not an aversion to killing necessarily. So when he's being interviewed, he's like, yeah, I was there and we were making love and I wanted to kill him, and it wasn't killing
Is that a
man
mercy?
to stop me. Yeah, it was that I thought I would get caught and get in trouble for it, so that's why I didn't do it. And it's like he's escalated, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna start again here, and I'm gonna like slowly escalate.
Temper your
back.
expectations here.
Exactly. I jumped out too fast. I gotta pull it back. I gotta pull it back. Yeah. So he's just too afraid to get caught, guys. In 1971, he's going to try to commit suicide by using an overdose of... This is not for points, just for fun. What if you're going to try to overdose, I'm just going to tell you it's over the counter. What are you going to use?
I bet he used aspirin.
Yeah, I was going to say aspirin.
Are you going to write it down?
I was going to say ibuprofen. Whatever.
Dynatap.
He tried to commit suicide using an overdose of NyQuil.
Pretty
Yes.
close.
He's got real sleepy.
He was just sipping on that scissor, bro.
Yeah, sipping on the scissor because he was depressed. How much fucking NyQuil do you have to down before you're like, that was enough to kill me?
And they didn't have like the pills back then.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's just
Those
drinking
weird
it.
menthol burps.
Teeth are all purple.
So gnarly. Like, how? This is green. I don't get it. On March 9th of 19... Obviously, he didn't fucking die. He thought he was going to try to kill himself, but he's dumb. You can't do it with NyQuil, you
Just
dumbass.
slept for 2 days.
He's a quitter on quitting. Like, what?
On March 9th, 1972, he's discharged from the Air Force and was classified as medical reasons under honorable conditions.
Honorable.
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 The overdose of NyQuil led the Air Force to look a little bit more into his background and find out about his arrest, and resulted in therapy and ultimately in his discharge. But he was discharged honorably. So he tried to kill himself. They looked and found his arrest that he lied about.
Yeah.
Sent him to a psychologist, and they were like, and they're like, honorable discharge. Yes, you're good.
You
Yeah,
good.
we just thank you so much for your help. We're just not.
70s, they don't want to.
Yeah, we're just not really gonna.
Dishonorable discharge, so he can't, get a job or anything.
Is that what they were just being sympathetic to his cause?
I think so. I mean, the guy wanted to kill himself. They were like, "Look, clearly you're not cut out for this. Why don't you go out and be all you can be somewhere else?"
They're like, maybe if you'd put a gun to your head, but look, dude, NyQuil. So
So you're dumb. So you need help.
So he got his honorable discharge. He's out of the Army. This is in March of 1972. About 2 months later, he tries to commit suicide, this time using Placidil and Equinil because he was depressed due to an argument with his family. That's horse tranquilizer for anybody who's...
I like you, man, but you're crazy.
Stick one in the jugular.
There's a dart sticking out of your neck.
So he was taken to the hospital, and his stomach was almost immediately pumped. He was then transferred to the VA hospital as an inpatient when his parents told him that he was no longer welcome at their house. Well, there you go. The next day, he was released and treated as an outpatient. Later, he would begin working at Cardinal Hill Convalescent Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky. He worked there for 5 months full-time and another 2 years part-time. He did not kill anyone while working there, according to him. He said these people were like too helpless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So between 72 and 73, he's dating Russell Addison. Yes.
So unapologetic for that too.
Yeah. From 73 to 78, he began a 5-year intermittent relationship with another man named Ken Estes. They lived together for portions of this relationship, but it was always rocky, and they lived. They were pretty much together on again, off again. At the time of their last breakup, he became more interested in the occult.
Hail Satan.
So he's getting he's getting kind of into the occult pretty heavily. I think it's becoming a little bit more of his identity. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back with a Hella Greg story. Did you say no?
Well, it's not. Yeah, but it's gonna be short.
It's an update.
We're gonna come back with a Hella Greg short story.
Snippet.
Little vignette.
Hella Greg thing. You guys know the deal. Come back or we'll kill you.
You left me with a taste of regret on my lips, blood held between fingertips. I see you sitting in your solid room on this cold dark night. I see you sipping on that vodka. It's gonna make you feel alright. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time. You could stay with me tonight. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time. You could stay with me tonight. What you really wanna know about me? Can't you see I'm dripping like I'm fucking saucy? I just wanna get to know you. Girl, just let me show you. Just wanna be your go-to. Driving to the coast and I'm looking to my right. You're looking pretty good. I be rocking off white, yeah. Running through my mind like a track meet all night. Stacking all these hundreds to the motherfucking sky, yeah. What's the plan? Tell me what it do. I can't include myself if it ain't including you, oh man. Can you pour another cup, please? Turn the system up, please. Chill it out on Long Beach. Got this rollie in my hand, I've been smoking on that grand. Got that back from Uncle Sam. One day you told me the strength of a man is measured in his heart. I drive back home and think of times when it was simpler from the start. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time. You could stay with me tonight. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time. You could stay with me tonight. Can you pour another cup, please? Turn the system up, please. Chilling out on Long Beach. I've been driving to the bank now, moving hella dank now. Looks like I'm about to cash out.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Serial Chillers podcast. We don't need to go far. Just a simple 66.6 feet straight down. We'll run into Hella Greg at the SUPRnetwork bunker. Greg, Do you like the tradition of me not saying hello as you pass through to slide down into the SUPRnetwork bunker?
I do. I also, the slide is nice, but I'm thinking of like a fire pole. I'm just afraid I want to get too much momentum.
Sounds sexier, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
Hella Greg and poles? That sounds real nice.
It sounds like this.
Yes, friction burns. Everybody's favorites.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of friction burn, I heard you brought us a little story here today.
Well, God.
Do we use that term loosely?
Well, it's more of just, like I said, a taste for to get people interested to do their own research, because I'm not trying to sway people one way or another on the whole cult thing.
It kind of seems like you have been.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to sway people towards my cult, and this bad cult hurts my cult's cause. You know what I'm saying?
You're not supposed to call it a cult, though. It's
See,
like
that's part of the cult.
self-enlightenment, or
Transparency is part of the cult. Like, look, this is what we are. Like, people are gonna call you, say you're a cult member. You are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not
See how
trying
that
to
works?
hide anything. Like, not like this guy. So this, you guys know who Keith Raniere is?
yeah,
No.
NXIVM.
So somebody's gonna get this question right. He and a famous actress were involved in a sex cult, and I'll give 500 points, because if you can pull this out of your ass, then props to you. Who was the famous actress that he
remember her
had
name.
running the sex cult with him?
Who was the famous actress
Damn it.
running the sex cult with him?
With Keith Raniere.
You don't got it?
No.
Josh and Bigfoot said Allison Mack.
Yeah.
It is Allison Mack.
Okay, so 500 points to both Josh and Bigfoot.
That's small.
Fuck.
Life, son.
Yeah.
Okay, Robbie, you're not in the lead anymore.
Yeah.
1,000 for Robbie, 1,250 for Josh, 500 for Bigfoot.
But I'm glad Bigfoot's on the board.
Yeah, you're welcome to the board.
Hey,
Okay,
thanks, Greg. That I know that question was tailored specifically for me.
Well, I mean, I'm talking sex cults.
I thought sex went hand in hand with cult. I didn't think there was like a sex cult.
just
No, sometimes Flavor Aid goes hand in hand with cults, man. See,
Yeah.
It all depends on how you go after
let's just
it.
hear you
So,
have more fun as a follower. You make more money as a leader.
Yeah, if you
true.
go after it, if you go after it like Keith Raniere did, he went after it like a pyramid scheme. So it was like he recruited six. What do they call it? He recruited 6 slaves, and then he tasked them with you got to go recruit 6 slaves, and so they did. And then he had all these like independent projects inside. NXIVM was what it was called, but it was spelt like the douchiest way possible. NXIVM.
Like Ruka?
How dare you?
It's not douchey though, bro.
NXIVM was how they spelled it. NXIVM. So,
In Latin, there was no you. Okay.
it's like a V, but like with a different sound, So like some of these projects, like he would come up with these ideas, and then he would make other people go implement them. Very Manson-esque.
Very like all cult leader esque.
Right.
Yeah,
But
do nothing.
What I'm trying to do is like draw comparisons to other cults, but that's fine. We'll do it your way. So he had this. One of the projects he had was called DOS, and like the computer system, I think. So that was like that was the sex part of the cult. Like you wanted to get in close and you wanted to bang Keith Raniere. Like you had to give him very specific photos that were
Compromising.
very compromising. And if you decided to not be a part of this anymore, then these photos can and will go public. And when you're somebody like Allison Mack, you don't necessarily want that, so you play along by his rules now. But what they said was over time they condition you to like not to not put up barriers, to like step outside your comfort zone, and it starts small, which sounds like a good thing, oh yeah, get outside my comfort zone. But then they said it gets to the point where when you're facing something that you know, like inside yourself, you know, I shouldn't be doing this. You're like, oh, that's the problem I always have. I need to step outside my comfort zone. And like you go and do it anyway. And that was the kind of brainwashing that they were using. They branded some of the girls in DOS with like a little cauterizing pen gun thing. They said it was like a 45-minute long session.
And brutal screams were coming out of it. And you could smell the burning flesh.
Jesus, what were they putting on them?
It was this like crazy. It's this like logo. It looks like, I mean,
it looks like a mountain range type of a thing.
Yeah, with a line over the top of it, and then like, I don't know, like a little something in the middle, and when you turn it sideways, it's just this dude's initials. It's just K and R. So
branding, as Hella Greg would say.
That branding in the most literal sense.
You got to sync it all up. You got to sync it all.
In my cult, we would not make you brand yourself.
Just
I'm
for
not
the
gonna
record.
stop you if you want to, but I'm not going to make you.
Not at the first level, at least.
Not until you get to like the inner circle. No, in fact, this guy's lawyer, I heard a sound clip from him, and I was actually going to send you the link so you could play it, just so you could hear what a piece of shit this lawyer is. But he was like, I think the courts are trying him on a sexism thing. I mean, athletes brand themselves all the time. You've seen, they like in fraternities and stuff, they get branded all the time. And, we don't say anything because it's, big, strong athlete. But when a woman wants to do it of her own fruition, she, obviously she can't make that decision. And I think that's sexist. and then he goes, and as far as secret societies go, there's been tons of secret societies. I mean, the Masons.
Hey.
Yeah, no, I was going to tell you, he attacks your boys. He attacks the stonecutters.
Those are my brothers.
So, but since I just said all that, I don't have to send you the link.
You've angered a Bigfoot.
Did you listen to the podcast on this?
I did. Well, that's where I got a lot of this information
from Uncovered.
The CBC podcast.
Yeah.
That
was a really good podcast.
Yeah, that guy had some really good takes on the mental state and like what this Keith Raniere like actually like. How when he was 13, he thought he was like the prodigal son. He was like, I'm something special. I'm enlightened. And it just continued. It just continued on and on until he got older. And then like even in 1989, he took some like IQ test and scored super high. And so they Guinness Book of World Records like listed him as one of the smartest men in the world. So now he's got this kind of shit to back it up. Like he talked a little bit of shit and he backed it up in certain spots so that it all looked good.
I see.
Yeah. So, I mean,
he's a businessman and Jesus.
So Keith Raniere, if you ever want to join our cult,
yeah,
drop us a line.
You're gonna have to get branded. He's one of the ones that has to get branded, and it's gonna have to be visible.
That's real.
So yeah, look him up. NXIVM, NXIVM. That.
Yeah, look that up.
Look them up. Don't join them.
Yeah, just don't look it up. Just
or you can join them. We're not here to tell you what to do.
I'm already looking them up.
Like on their Wikipedia, it says they're a multi-level marketing scheme.
Yeah.
That's what like a multi-level marketing program is what they call themselves.
Well, Allison Mack tried to like recruit a ton of celebrities online on Twitter in person,
and she got some. And she's also in jail
in deep
for a
shit for
very
that.
long time
Yeah.
for like human trafficking. Yeah,
intense,
very much
like a circus fire. So let's go back to Donald Harvey, I guess. Shit. So I don't believe any of these segments run quite as long as that first one I did until we get to your guys' stories. But we'll trust me, we're getting there. Thank you, Greg, for your Hella Greg question and your Hella Greg knowledge of NXIVM.
yeah, not all cults are bad.
But that one seems like it might have been.
Yeah, no, that one is, but mine's not.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So that's not
for $1,000 per month.
Like I said, go ahead and hit up either Bigfoot or Hella Greg on that part. I'm actually not part of their cult. I'm just hanging out here at the desk,
The funny thing
writing
is,
outlines.
You're the absolute truth of the cult.
Oh,
God damn it! You're
Why
not supposed
are you
to
telling
tell it.
secrets? Yeah.
He's got to figure it out.
That's only for Patreon members.
I haven't given enough to the Patreon yet to find out that I was the absolute truth. All right. Let's do this thing. So, if you guys remember, he's just broke up with Carl, and he's getting a lot more interested in the occult. In September of 1975, he obtained a job as a nursing assistant at the VA hospital in Lexington. In November of 75, he reduced oxygen flow to Joseph Harris, possibly resulting in his death, although he was never indicted for it. So I think this is the run while he's at this hospital. He's going to admit 13 murders, and they're going to be able to corroborate 10 of them. So this is one of the ones where he's like, yeah, I did it, but they're like, may have, may not have. We can't prove it. 1975, later that year, James Twitty and James Ritter, Harry Rhodes, and Sterling Moore died in the ward. Donald believes he had something to do with all of their deaths, but does not remember any specifics.
Yeah, I might have.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's getting to that point where he's like, those guys.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't really
Probably.
remember. Yeah, exactly. Like, I could have turned the tanks off for sure. I just, like, I can't remember. So I think,
That might
like,
have been the guy that I kinked the IV hose on, but I'm not.
yeah, like, I think that's kind of his thing right now, is he's just doing it so willy-nilly that he's like, walks in the room, he's like, this guy kind of smells. Turns the oxygen
Amen.
off, or, yeah.
If they already smell like death, just finish the process.
I didn't say smell like death, I just said smell.
It smelled like chili dog.
Quit taking it there. So, in June of 1977, he joined what he referred to as the occult through an initiation that is only available for heterosexual couples. Therefore, he was partnered up with a woman named Jan as his partner, and the two of them were initiated by switching partners with a couple that was already in the occult.
Well,
Yeah. What? Here's the thing, though, is like you get the whole deal is that like you go in there with your partner and you switch partners. Like, how is that anything for him if they're like, all right, here's this woman you're going to pretend to be your partner.
But you don't
Now
get to
switch
fuck her, you gotta
partners.
fuck her.
It's just like a country song. You just do-si-do, you switch partners. Like, this is what happens.
The great thing about this little occult swing party that he's getting is he's getting initiated through it with the switching of the partners. But this is also going to result in the conception of his second child. So
Magical.
Dope.
Yep.
Kind of loser goes to an orgy and gets somebody pregnant. Dope.
Like Steve Brule, orgies aren't any fun when no one wants to do it with you.
So,
But the buffet is killer.
so during the initiation, he received his spiritual guide, a man named Duncan, that would assist him in figuring out who to kill for the occult. Yes. Duncan was a doctor during his lifetime. Therefore, Donald held him in quite high regard. In 1980, he began dating a man named Doug Hill. We know. They heatedly argued often, and after one fight, Donald retaliated by slipping arsenic into Doug's ice cream. So,
oh, that sucks.
yeah. This was significant because it was the first person outside of the hospital that he had tried to harm. So we're not in the hospital right now. He's not like, oh, I'll sneak something into the IV or I'll turn the oxygen tank off. He's at home with his boyfriend and he's like, think of this shit right here. Put fucking arsenic in your fucking vanilla.
And what an asshole. Everybody knows arsenic goes in the guacamole. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's
It's
strychnine.
strychnine.
Yeah, that's my mistake. I withdraw.
So
Do you think it was like petty too? Like, you made breakfast, but you didn't put syrup on my waffles.
yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't say what it just says after a particular argument. So Doug ended up not dying, but I think that after Doug got sick and got over it, he kind of like,
Never ate ice cream again.
well, I think he had an idea of what was going on. Like there were red flags and there were clues, and he's like, I think this motherfucker just poisoned me. Like, so yes, Donald didn't die, but Donald was fucking onto him. Donald peaced out. August 1st, 1980, he started a relationship with a man named Carl Howler. They moved in together almost immediately when Donald found out that Carl had been going to the park every Monday and, quote, playing around with other men. He started feeding him small doses of arsenic to make him sick on Sunday so that he was so sick on Monday that he couldn't go to the park.
What a dick.
Donald
What he was getting, or he personality wise, or just like,
Wouldn't he like
personality.
eventually build a tolerance to it, and you'd have to use like more and more and more?
I don't know if that's how arsenic works, but
That's I mean, because like if you shoot yourself with smaller caliber bullets, you can build up a tolerance.
Yeah.
So eventually you can take larger rounds.
yeah.
dude, real
That's
talk
that.
though, the inmates, because you can grow a tolerance to pepper spray, they would purposefully cause shit so, they could get pepper sprayed, so they could build up like the immunity to it.
Wonderful.
Fuckers.
We're just creating angry superhumans.
I was gonna say we gotta have Bigfoot on to air all of his grievances about being a correctional officer.
What is this, Festivus?
Yeah, when you get that Festivus episode, let me know.
I was gonna say I'd like to talk
It
to
looks
the
like this year
industrial
we're gonna be having a Festivus episode.
Show of strength as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I got a lot of problems with you people.
Hey, this table's pretty light, and this room's pretty good for wrestling once you get it out of here. I got a lot of problems with you people.
And you're going to hear about it.
So, yeah, he started getting his boyfriend sick on Sundays so that he couldn't go out on Mondays to the park. Donald thought that this woman Diane, who was they call them hags. So Diane is a woman who she's primarily friends with, like, you know, as two gay men, they hang out in a circle of gay men. Diane is a friend with most of, if not all of those gay men. Yeah, so Diane, he starts to get very suspicious of Diane. He starts thinking that she's trying to like split up their relationship because she doesn't think Donald's good for him. So what he does is very reasonable and gives her a small gift. Hepatitis B. He stole it from the VA hospital. I guess he got a sample, put it in a syringe, and injected her, and she did end up getting hepatitis B.
How did he inject her?
with a needle.
Yeah. I think they.
Thank you.
I think we're in early '80s. I think drug use at this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like he was like,
Partying.
"Here, use this one, Diane.
This one's good.
Yeah, and,
Look, it's got your name on it.
yeah, I think that's kind of what happened.
Did you hear about the guy that was allegedly doing that in clubs in San Francisco? It's probably just a urban legend, but in the 80s there was a guy that was going around and like sticking people with like little needles with a note. And so when they pull it out, the little note said, "Congratulations, you have AIDS." And like
Jesus.
I do
Right?
remember that.
Like I remember reading that somewhere on the internet a long time ago. So
Now
I
you
don't know
got to
how
see if
true it
it's
is.
fucking creepypasta or real life.
I mean, Suge Knight talked about it on that Jimmy Kimmel interview. So
Did he?
yeah,
I don't know if
Suge
that's.
Knight doesn't lie.
and
so-
Suge Knight said that's that Easy E. That's what happened to Easy E or something like that.
Oh my god. Okay, so Donald thought Diane was a woman who was gonna, break apart the relationship, so he gives her the hepatitis B. On April 10th, 1983, he killed Helen Metzger, who was 63, because he thought that she was a threat to Carl and an indirect threat to him. He did this by sprinkling arsenic on the leftovers that he gave her and in a jar of mayonnaise as well. She's like an old woman, and she's like a neighbor, I think.
She uses mayonnaise for everything.
Yeah, and I think she's a little paranoid, and so he's like, everything's fine, and he thinks that she's a threat to the relationship, so he gives her some leftovers. He's taking care of her. They're sprinkled in arsenic. He also puts in a jar of mayonnaise. Several weeks later, he gives her a pie that has also been sprinkled with arsenic. She would then develop a paralysis at her waist, and it would move upwards. He claimed that he did not mean to give her a lethal dose, but the paralysis set in. Following a tracheotomy, she started hemorrhaging and never regained consciousness. Her death was attributed to Guillain-Barré syndrome until Donald would later admit to the attack. So we actually know someone who had Guillain-Barré.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did not get killed by someone.
Can I just say
Spoiler
that
alert.
I'm glad you're calling it the hepatitis B.
Yeah. The hepatitis B.
B's not as good as A, right?
Ooh, I don't know.
But it's better than C.
Better than C.
Yeah.
That's what I do know. It's just like the alphabet. You just start,
Right.
don't get that hepatitis Z.
That's like Ebola.
So, 1983, Helen's family would get together for, to remember her at her apartment. They had a funeral and a gathering, and a lot of her family members became sick because they used the mayonnaise in a lot of the appetizers and sandwiches and things that they made for the funeral gathering.
Oh, shit.
No one died from it, but everybody assumed that it was just food poisoning from something at the party because a number of them got sick.
Because they found food in a dead lady's refrigerator and was like, let's use this.
Truth. So
It's not expired.
let's take another short break right here. We'll come back, and we have a story from Josh. And, let's do that right now. Do we say the line again?
Yes.
Come back or I'll kill you.
There you go. Do you guys actually need a break?
Hey everybody, it's me again. I'm here to talk to you about patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast. For as little as $1 a month, you can help two needy podcasters do awesome stuff and churn out better content for you for less than the price of a cup of coffee a month. There's stickers and all kinds of cool stuff. So check it out. Patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm not going to take up too much of your time because our good friend Josh here has brought us a story. I know we got one fact, one fiction story today. So we're bringing
We're not going to tell you which one's which.
yeah, you'll know. But I like that. Go ahead, Josh.
All right, cool. So I was looking at stuff that kind of creeps me out, and it's usually like unsolved missing people or serial killers that are still on the loose. So I found the story about Evelyn Hartley. Has anyone heard about that? Mm-mm. She's actually kind of linked to a pretty popular serial killer that you guys have already covered, too. So we'll hit that when we get there. So I'm just going to read from what I saw online. And so on October 24th, 1953, a professor at La Crosse State College decided that he and his wife wanted to attend the college's homecoming game, but they needed someone to watch their 20-month-old daughter. So the Ramusins had a usual babysitter, of course, but the college-age girl had been planning on attending the same homecoming game. So with nowhere else to turn, Dr. Ramusin asked a fellow teacher, biology professor, Dr. Richard Hartley, if his 15-year-old daughter, Evelyn, was available to babysit. And so Dr. Ramusin picked up Evelyn from her house at 6:30 p.m. before they went to the game with their 7-year-old daughter. Evelyn was instructed to feed the baby and put her to bed around 7 p.m. Once that was done, she sit down and catch up on some of her homework. She brought several school books with her to work on that night. And then that evening, Evelyn's father had asked his daughter to call them and check in around 8:30 p.m. Just because it was the 1950s didn't mean they shouldn't be careful. When no call came, he called the Ramusins several times. The phone rang incessantly, and there was no answer. So after his daughter didn't pick up, he kind of freaked out, and he headed straight over there to check on what was going on with his daughter. And then when he get there, that's kind of when shit hit the fan. Richard could see that the lights on the house were on, and he could hear the radio playing. He went to the door and knocked, but received no answer. He tried it and realized that it was still locked tight. Peeking in the front window, he saw one of his daughter's shoes and her broken glasses laying on the floor amidst her scattered school books. And then even the living room furniture seemed to be out of place, knocked askew in some way. So he rushed to the back of the house and tried the back door, but it too was locked. There was an open window near the back door, and it had its screen out, which was lying against an outside wall. So it looked like someone had broken into the house. So Richard ended up climbing through the open window and ran around the first floor, calling for his daughter. When he couldn't find her, he ran upstairs. Her other shoe was on the landing at the top of the stairs as well. And the baby was actually peacefully asleep in her crib, but his daughter was nowhere to be found. So one of the Ramusins' neighbors had actually seen Dr. Hartley pull up to the house, and after a couple minutes, he ended up walking over there, and the two men ended up searching the entire house, but they couldn't find any sign of Evie, other than obviously a struggle. So around 9:45, the neighbor actually called the police, and they came to investigate. There were several pry marks outside the windows. There were tons of footprints inside the house, and then the investigators also discovered blood at various places inside the house and in the yard. There was a huge trail. So the police also found a pool of blood inside the basement window, and then the trail of blood led away from the house and ended in a pool of blood near the neighbor's garage, and there was a bloody handprint on there. Yeah, so that was actually 100 feet away from the house. And then they actually tested the blood, and it matched the same blood type as Evelyn Hartley. And then some scent dogs were brought in, but only got about 2 weeks before, or 2 blocks away before the trail went cold. So there was a ton of blood loss, but the police and the parents still hoped that she was alive. It actually ended up being one of the largest searches in Wisconsin's history. Over 1,000 members of the community searched in this effort. In October of 1953, there was law enforcement officers, National Guard, Boy Scouts, college students, faculty, Civil Air Patrol, and the Air Force. So basically everyone was trying to find this girl. And then they actually had a vehicle inspection program, which was undertaken with the intent of searching every vehicle in the county. Gas station attendants were asked to check cars for blood stains. Recent graves were reopened to determine if her remains were placed in there. And then they even tried to do a mass lie detector test for high school boys in the area. They were planning on testing about 1,750 students and ended up only doing 300 because it was pretty controversial. And it wasn't until a couple weeks later that neighbors actually started repeating some of the stuff, or reporting some of the stuff that they saw or heard. So one couple had apparently heard 2 to 3 high-pitched screams around 7 p.m., but who gives a shit? Like, that's normal. So they didn't decide to tell that to police for a few weeks later. They thought it was a child playing or having a tantrum. Another couple noticed an unfamiliar light-colored car was seen circling the neighborhood that afternoon. Weeks after the kidnapping, a local man said he saw a 2-tone green Buick speeding out of the neighborhood at around 7:15. He had noticed 2 men in the car, one driving, one in the backseat with a girl who looked as though she was slumped over. So that's nothing either, right? Like,
golly.
Getting roadhead.
It's a different time.
Murder was fun and no one cared. So the same man.
How do people recognize cars as being different? Like,
yeah, I can't tell.
I see cars.
I don't know, dude. I have the Nextdoor app, and there's a bunch of motherfuckers in my neighborhood that think there's a bunch of mysterious cars rolling around here.
Well, I know, but it's just like, I mean, I see a car go down my street, and if the dude waves, I'm like, yo. And if the dude doesn't wave, I'm like, all right, then.
Fuck you, too.
The bunker has a street?
I could, yeah. Well, you got.
He doesn't live full time in the bunker.
Yeah, there's stuff going. You're up above it. You get it.
It's not blast from the pasting it yet.
What?
No, he's making Brendan Fraser references.
Oh, the same man had also seen 2 men walking a girl down the street right where the police had found a bloody handprint. So that's good. And he said he only came forward a few weeks later, long after the girl had been presumed dead, because he believed that they had come from a game and that all 3 people might have just had a bit too much to drink.
Yeah. Well, these people are having some pretty good recall memory a few weeks later.
Right? And then, so days after she disappeared, police found a pair of bloody panties and brassiere and a jean jacket, and all of them matched her blood type. And then, so they kind of lost hope that she was alive. And then they actually found a shoe as well that was a size 11 that matched the footprints outside of the house.
Dang, Peggy Hill.
And then, so after Ed Gein was arrested, they actually thought he was associated with the murder, that he had something to do with it. And then, so he passed 2 lie detector tests, denied any involvement with it. And then in 1957, the authorities announced that he had been cleared of any connection. So, but that's pretty much it. There's been other stuff too. Like in 2004, someone came forward with a recording that said he caught people at a bar, saying that they had something to do with it. But then the police just kind of we don't care. But it's pretty weird.
That's crazy. Thank you, Josh. That was a wonderful
story, dude.
Yeah, appreciate it. Let's, I guess, jump back into Donald Harvey again, I guess.
Yay.
Steve Harvey's dad.
Yeah, so if you remember, the Helen's entire family just got sick off the arsenic-laced mayonnaise that was left behind. Moving on to April 25th, 1983, he's going to kill Carl, his ex-boyfriend's father, Henry Howler, who is 82, by giving him arsenic. He died 4 days later due to a stroke and kidney failure. In late 1983 or early 1984, he accidentally killed Howard Vedder, who was Carl's brother-in-law. Question number 10. How did he accidentally kill him? Was it A, an accidental shooting? B, he accidentally hit him in his car? C, he accidentally drowned him in the pool? Or D, accidentally gave him methanol instead of vodka?
Ooh.
Accidental shooting, hit him in the car, drowned in the pool, methanol instead of vodka. Okay, Robbie and Josh both say in the pool.
I was in the pool.
Bigfoot said accidentally hit him in the car, right? He said B. Donald had been using wood alcohol to remove adhesive labels and left the solution in a vodka bottle.
Oh.
Carl then got a hold of the wrong bottle and served his brother, Howard, a few drinks from it. He was sick for a week and suffered a heart attack. His death was attributed to cardiac failure.
Damn it. Was it really an accident?
Well, it was an accident in the sense that, like, he knew not to drink that. He knew, like, which vodka bottle. But, like, you know, he just had it out when he I guess he, like, collected bottles, so he'd use it to take the labels off them. And, you know, Carl got it and was like, oh, I'm going to serve my brother some of this vodka. And hit him up with a couple screwballs. And
I'm not going to take any of it, but he's going to have some.
yeah, maybe. Woo! So, September 19th, 1984, he accidentally killed Harem Prophet by giving him the wrong dosage of hairpin. He told no one about the error, and it was not detected. Of course. November 9th, 1984, he killed his ex-boyfriend, James Peluso, who was 65, because he asked it to help him out if he had ever become unable to take care of himself. So he's saying that Peluso, who's like 40 years his senior, had always said, hey, you know, if it comes to the time, you'll take care of this for me, right? Like, I don't want to be here suffering. So that was his story and what happened. So what he did was he put arsenic in a daiquiri and then in some pudding for Peluso, excuse me. He became ill once more at home and was returned to the VA hospital. His death had been expected due to a cardiac problem, so no autopsy was ever performed. He's had a bunch of fucking arsenic up in his shit. Yeah. On March 18th, 1985, he killed Edward Wilson, a neighbor, because he wanted to protect Carl. Wilson believed that Carl was cheating on him, or believed that Carl was being cheated on his utility bill by Donald. He's fucking you on the utility bill, Carl. In order to protect Carl, in order to protect Carl, he put arsenic into Wilson's Pepto-Bismol. He died 5 days later. That's ultimate insult because, like, what do you go to when you start getting like the rumbly in the stomach? Man, I'm not fucking feeling good, dude.
Pepto-Bismol.
And it's arsenic laced. In March of 1985, question number 11, he's going to get a promotion. What is going to be his new position? Is he going to be A, the nurse supervisor, B, the drug cart supervisor, C, the morgue supervisor, or D, the triage supervisor? Nurse, drug cart, morgue, or triage. This motherfucker is getting promoted right now, you guys.
Because he handles his business.
Everybody says the drug cart supervisor. He was promoted to the morgue supervisor.
Yeah, guys, come on. Hello. This guy's like all about death. Of course he'd be the morgue supervisor.
Well, my problem is, like, how do you kill more people when
Right.
you're in the morgue?
When you're in the
already?
morgue.
You just go get him a little early.
You're learning about the dead body so you can kill more people.
Oh, he's preparing.
Plus, you can go kill him and then just be like, oh, I'm here to pick up a body. Somebody called me about it. And then wheel him out of the room, and nobody's going to say shit.
And then the cop's like, wait, did you call someone? The other one's like, nope. And that's how he gets caught. See you guys. So, yeah, he gets promoted to fucking morgue supervisor. He's going to also at this time join the National Socialist Party.
That Nazi?
Or, you know, as some might refer to them, the neo-Nazis. Later, he claims that he wasn't a sympathizer, but instead he was there gathering info for friends that wanted to destroy the party from the inside out.
He's a spy.
That's it. Yeah,
You were
dude.
going undercover.
Uh-huh. That's what he was doing.
Shave my head because I'm committed.
In July 1985, he's now 33 years old, guys. We've gone through some years here with Donald Harvey. He is fired from the VA hospital. Question number 12. For what reason was he fired from the VA? Was it A, they were suspicious of his behavior with patients? B, he brought a gun to work? C, he threatened to kill a coworker? Or D, he got a DUI? Suspicious of his behavior with patients, brought a gun to work, killed or threatened a coworker, got a DUI. Robbie, what'd you say?
Sorry.
Robbie and Bigfoot both say A, suspicious of his behavior. Josh says B, he brought a gun to work. In July of 1985, he was fired from the VA hospital because they found in his gym bag a gun, which was strictly against nursing policy. So Josh is going to get another 250 there.
That wasn't more of like a guideline?
Yeah.
I honest to God thought you were gonna say in his gym bag they found a DUI.
So Josh has got, what do we got here? 1,500 at this point. Bigfoot's got the 500. And Robbie's still hanging out at 1,000. It's really still anybody's game. Hang in there, big guy. I'm going to get Bigfoot that coffee pretty soon here.
Don't fall asleep.
They also found a small specimen of liver mounted in paraffin wax to be sliced with the microfoam for microscopic examination in his locker. Due to errors in the investigation, none of this appeared on his record, and Donald believes that Carl planted the gun and made the report because he certainly did not pack it. And this guy's like admitting to a bunch of murders. I don't know why he wouldn't just be like, I brought the gun. He thinks that was Carl's way of like breaking up with him, was put a gun in his gym bag and then be like, he's bringing a gun to the hospital today.
I was going to say, a gun doesn't seem like his MO.
Yeah, I think he wants to I want to listen to your heart stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. February 24th, 1986, he started a new job at Daniel Drake Memorial in Cincinnati, Ohio. No suspicions were raised because his reasons for leaving previous jobs, there were no bad marks. Nothing went on his record. Because nothing was ever put on the records, he was going into each new job like it was just clean and clear.
Honorable discharge.
Yeah, April 8th, 1986. He killed Nathaniel J. Watson, who was 65, by smothering him with a wet plastic garbage bag, which he placed over his face, pushing it onto his mouth and into his nostrils. God. He had tried to kill him in the same manner multiple times, but was interrupted each time. This is going on 15 years later. He didn't think that Watson, a semi-comatose man being fed through a gastric tube, should live that way. Question number 13. What was the other reason Harvey gave for killing this man? So he said he shouldn't have to live like this. But also, A, he was a rapist. B, his family couldn't even care for him. C, he was rich and Harvey thought he can get a piece of that shit. Or D, he truly cared for the man. He thought the dude was a rapist. His family couldn't care for him. Thought he was rich and he can get a piece of it. Truly cared for him. Okay. Bigfoot says his family couldn't care for him. Josh said
C.
He was rich and he thought he can get a piece of it. Robbie said that he truly cared for the man. Nope. Sorry, guys.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
He also heard that Watson was a convicted rapist, even though this was never substantiated. Yeah.
This is rough.
Yeah. So
I mean, as the dude that loved Uncle Wayne until he was 20, like, why does it matter if this dude's a rapist? Like, you're into that.
Did it say he loved Uncle Wayne?
He was 20 years old.
Bigfoot draws his own conclusions. All right.
Bigfoot loves Uncle Wayne.
Is this Dick Grayson and Batman? Is that what's going on right now?
Bigfoot is Uncle Wayne.
Greg had to lean forward and unmute himself to get that in there too. So there was some effort put forth.
Zing.
Yeah, he had also heard that Watson was a convicted rapist. There's no proof. He just heard, yeah, this guy's a convicted rapist. So I'm also was going to kill him anyway, but this gives me better reason. He removed the pillow, threw the plastic bag in the trash, and carried on to his next patient. Watson was found 45 minutes later by another nurse. On April 12th, 1986, he killed Leon Nelson, who was 64, by smothering him in the same manner as Nathaniel Watson with the wet trash bag. April 19th of 86, he killed Virgil Weddle, who was 81, by putting rat poison in his pudding. He had died of an apparent heart attack, which was expected by his illness. Donald took cookies from Weddle and ate them during his occult ceremony for Duncan. So he's like killing these people, taking trophies, and like going back and doing occult ceremonies with his spirit guide.
Eating
Yep.
his cookies.
Yeah,
That makes sense, though.
consuming something that was once his.
So is Duncan a real person, or is he just?
From what it seems that way. It seems that he like there are ties to him being part of some weird group that he was doing ceremonies with. I don't know specifically that they like Duncan didn't technically do anything illegal. I guess they're saying like this guy was killing people at work and they didn't. I don't know. I think that he was going and doing something. I don't know necessarily that Duncan was real. I don't know, man. I wasn't there.
That's fair.
Duncan wasn't on trial at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't really a trial though. You'll see.
Well, when you confess like that, I can.
Yeah. April 20th, 86, he attempted to kill Lawrence Burnson with rat poison repeatedly. That's not funny. Burnson was transferred to a nursing home and died there just days later. On May 2nd of 86, his relationship with Carl started to have lots of trouble, and they argued a lot. So they've been kind of on again, off again, but mostly consistent over the last few years. He became paranoid that Carl was out to get him. So they're going to officially and finally break up on May 2nd. Later that day, Donald is going to kill Doris Nally, who is 65, by putting cyanide in her apple juice. 3 days later, on the 5th, Daisy Key completed an employee evaluation on Donald. So he's getting, hey, let's do the evaluation. We've got some work for you to do. And, I just want to go over some of these categories and see what you think. So we've got 10 categories here. We give you either good, acceptable, or needs improvement. Question number 14. How many goods did he have on his evaluation?
How many questions?
It's 1 through 10. So I guess 0 through 10.
Yeah. How many goods?
How many goods did he get? Good on his performance evaluation.
You said 1 through 10?
Could be 0. I guess if he got a poor review, he could get 0 goods. Robbie said 8. Josh and Bigfoot both say 10.
I almost wrote. I had 10 written.
He got good on 6. Robbie will get 250 points there. Yeah, he got good on 6 and acceptable on the other 4. He didn't need an improvement anywhere. He was pretty much acceptable.
Just taking out the trash.
Yeah, it's just like if you get good on 7, they have to give you a raise, so they don't give him good on 6. That's fine.
6. That's all.
Yeah. On June 20th, he killed Edward Schreibies, who was 63, by giving him arsenic in his soup. There was no autopsy conducted. In May or June of 86, he attempted to poison Willie Johnson using arsenic 4 times in his food. On June 29th, he killed Robert Crockett, who was 80, by putting a cyanide solution into an IV. No autopsy was conducted for this man. July 7th, 1986, he killed Donald Barney, who was 61, by giving him a cyanide through his feeding tube, as well as an injection of cyanide into his buttocks. On July 25th of 86, he killed James T. Woods, who was 65, by giving him a cyanide solution to his gastric tube. I've got James Woods. On August 16th of 86, he killed Ernst Fry, who was 85, by giving him arsenic in his gastric tube. Donald took an old pair of knitted booties from the man to use in an occult ritual. So
Amen.
Keep it fucking rolling. August 17th, he moved to Middletown, Ohio. And on August 29th, he killed Milton Cantor, who was 85, by giving him a cyanide solution in his nasal tube.
That's the second Milton.
It is the second Milton.
What about Milton Adams? By the whole resort and burn it to the ground. The permission for autopsy was not granted. Donald took a lap blanket from Cantor as a trophy for his crime on this case. September 17th, 1986, he killed Roger Evans, who was 74, by giving him cyanide in his gastric tube. His autopsy was given, but no cyanide was located. Apparently cyanide's like extremely hard to locate, but like certain people know exactly what to look for, and it's like super simple to find.
Is it cyanide or is it arsenic that leaves the body really fast? I don't think it's arsenic.
It might be cyanide, but I think it's just really hard to detect. It looks like a heart attack, but it's like a smell. Like they can smell bitter almonds or taste it, what it tastes like too. But
Weird.
I later will find like good doctors can open up a body and smell that there was like arsenic run through it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, kind of crazy.
What's the one that comes from apples? There's one that comes from apple seeds.
Is that ricin?
I think that's arsenic.
Arsenic, yeah.
Yeah, I think you gotta have a lot of apple seeds to.
Well, yeah.
Fucking Johnny Appleseed.
Fucking Johnny Appleseed. What was he doing?
Spreading arsenic, obviously.
On September 20th of 1986, he killed Claiborne Kendrick, who was 69, by giving him cyanide in his gastric tube and an injection into his testes. So now he's just getting,
He's
I got
having
like
some fun.
queasy when I heard that.
That's rude.
Having fun with it.
October 29th of 1986, he killed Albert Buellman, who was 86, by feeding him cyanide dissolved in a cup of water. At least one of the last dudes got it in fucking apple juice.
Yeah.
This guy just he's like mixing it with his finger or his dick, and he's just fucking force feeds it to him.
Dick.
He didn't want to do his dick because I could travel up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. November 4th of 1986, he killed Henry Cody, who was 78, by giving him cyanide dissolved in water through his gastric tube. Permission for an autopsy was not given. Let's take our last break here. Come back with a fictional story from Robbie that I'm kind of excited about. I'm glad to bring something that's not so fucking real.
Right,
Yeah. So we'll come back with that. Robbie's got a fucking creepypasta for us, and we'll finish it out. Come back, or we're not going to kill you. We'll come back, or we'll maim you.
We'll maim you. We'll poison you.
Yeah, we rap 2K, dropping all these hits, yeah, we gon' get paid. Yeah, we rap 2K, driving to the paint with a 3-point play. Yeah, we rap 2K, coming from across the USA. Yeah, we rap 2K, stacking up the stash like the CIA. Rap 2K, yeah, we on now. Wrap it up, smoke it hella long now. You ask for fire like the bomb now. Regular people, yeah, we all coming on now. We don't want smoke, put your cars down. Walk into the function and they all coming round now. Ladies running up to me, they wanna come along now. People used to hate on me, they wanna play my song.
R.A.P.2K, you rockin' with the best. Hella checks with the church SP so you can say I'm blessed. What's next? A Rolex, gorillas banging on their chests. And never mind that, let's just go and take a rest. Cause the game is changing where the was to do it. We're never losing, only gaining, give us time to prove it. We're only giving, never taking. Seriously, never faking. Only making sure that earth the only one is quaking. If we don't have a way, we'll make one. R.A.P.2K until we're done, just know there's none. No one else that can do it like us. Keep on running till we get a home run, yeah. R.A.P.2K, we rockin' with the best. R.A.P.2K, you're rockin' with the best. R.A.P.2K, we rockin' with the best. R.A.P.2K, you rockin' with the...
Yeah, we rap 2K, dropping all these hits, yeah, we gon' get paid. Yeah, we rap 2K, driving to the paint with a 3-point play. Yeah, we rap 2K, coming from across the USA. Yeah, we rap 2K, stacking up the stash like the CIA.
Yeah, Rep 2K is the team. See us pull up on the scene, then we be all on your screens. Yeah, we live out here, no record out, yet we #1 out here. Talk all you haters want, man, see if we care. Next stop is Bel Air, we aiming major. What time is right now? You can get later. 11 on the team, so I guess we're the Raiders. We unstoppable, man, you can't fade us. Break us, never, #1 forever. Checkmate, game over. Rob, signing off, say Nora.
Rep UK, a group of the dream. Be best group of the industry. If you fuck with me, gonna fuck with the team. This ain't starting to win around me. Ain't got a demon, ain't got no teeth. Flex my centipede to whatever see. First got see to a lander see. All of this, but I'm
All right, welcome back, everybody. Robbie's brought a story for us. And when I say story almost every time somebody's brought something, and it's usually not very story worthy. Usually people are like dying and it's really happening. So I can appreciate you bringing something a little fictional to, even if it's dark in the mood, to lighten the mood.
Yeah.
So, hey, take it away, man.
Cool. This one's called The Smiling Man. And I had seen it all over Reddit, quite a few years ago. And I thought it was a pretty popular story. But it's called The Smiling Man. And about 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the U.S. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had any reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all that changed in just a few minutes one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man, dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to the waltz, but as he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass by. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky and wearing an old suit. He danced closer until I could make out his face. His eyes were open and wild, head tilted slightly back, looking off to the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully cartoon smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back, and then I stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward. Smile still wide on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I'd put about a half block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved until I noticed him. He had crossed the street and now was slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but he was certainly facing me. I had looked away for him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time staring at him. And then he started moving toward me again. He took giant, exaggerated tiptoe steps, as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on me, except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point that I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or a cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen as the smiling man crept toward me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. What I meant to ask was, "What do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimper. What? Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling. And then after what felt like forever, he turned around very slowly and started dance walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. I ran too. I ran until I was off the side road and back onto better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in that city for about 6 more months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane. And that's a very, very scary thing to see.
Hey. Spooky spaghetti.
Yeah.
So
It's a
I want you to
spaghetti.
know you great story. You touched on one of my biggest fears,
Dancing?
and
Just because he's white, bro, that's so racist.
no, it's people that can move too fast, like the T-1000.
Oh yeah,
Like
that
when
is
you're
creepy.
driving away and it's like running and catching up.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
That's like one of the scariest fucking things I could possibly imagine, because you're like, I'm doing everything I can to get away, and I can't get away, even with machine help, because this machine's better.
Right. There was
Like-
there's a I think it was, I imagine a YouTube video of somebody that made a reenactment of this, and it doesn't compare to to the visuals that I have in my head of how fast that this person was running, or like the exaggerated steps that they were taking, like a cartoon character.
I was gonna say I picture like a very Slender Man.
Yeah.
Right.
Creepy. I had heard it too. Once you got a little ways into it, I was like, yep.
I was gonna say, I remember J Def telling me.
Yeah, that's
that.
what I heard. That's where I heard it from. Yeah. And I told that story to
totally-
so many people.
I totally remember hearing it, and I remember getting to the part where it moved too fast, and I was like, "Peace."
Nope.
So I'm glad.
Sometimes I'll get stuck in a spooky spaghetti, and I'll just read them for like 2.5 hours and be like,
Yep.
"Is it 1:40 in the morning?" I'm like,
Just
Yeah,
in
shit.
bed on your phone.
"Yeah, exactly."
Terrifying.
Fuck
terrifying
yeah! Thanks, man.
Yeah.
We need to start doing that more. We need to start having someone do a good old internet story, or a story that they wrote or something. Man, that was good, man. They got it was concise, to the point, fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Thanks. Here you go.
There's a swinging town I know called Capital City.
Look, street crime.
People stop and scream.
Oh,
Maybe that's
now
what-
that is service.
Maybe that's what he was dancing to in his head.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's, for the final time, get back to Donald Harvey and finish this motherfucker out, huh? Okay, so November of 1986, Donald began seeing Dr. Mark Barbara for treatment of his depression due to the breakup with Carl. It was really taking its toll on Donald, you know? He might go out and do something crazy. November of 1986, question number 15, he would receive another severe head injury. How? Was it A, he tried to shoot himself in the head, but moved last second? He drove off a cliff with his car? He tried to hang himself, but slipped and hit his head? Or he was hit by a line drive at a baseball game?
Hey, that's not a joke. That's what killed that lady in Simon Birch.
Oh no.
He said Simon Birch.
You see how I didn't respond? You see, what are you doing over there?
You thought it was the Casey rule, but it's actually the Greg rule repackaged. You know, like New Coke.
It's mostly the Paul rule. Every time Paul says something, I just
What
Here's
was
the
A?
thing.
Sorry, what was A?
TM.
Yeah.
He tried to shoot himself in the head, but moved to the last second.
Alright.
Drove his car off a cliff. Tried to hang himself, slipped, hit his head, hit by a line drive. That's danger. All right. Bigfoot says that he tried to shoot himself, but moved.
I said hitting the head with a baseball.
Drove off a cliff.
Drove off a cliff. Robbie's going to get 250 points and tie this thing up.
Drove off a cliff.
1,500
I thought for sure it was yours. I'm like, I got that wrong.
for Robbie and Josh. You got 500 over here, though, Casey. Doing the damn thing.
Operation Don't Get Shut Out was a success.
I like to look at myself more as a co-host.
Yeah, I like that. I appreciate that.
You're just here for the color.
Hey, Greg used to compete every time he was on at the beginning, too,
right,
you know? Everybody's got to pay their dues.
One of these
Casey's
days,
just
I'm
had to
gonna
do
get
it for
my
like
shit
41
together.
episodes.
One of these days, I'm going to get my shit together and I'm going to write an episode and I'm going to make Jesse compete.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, except it's never going to happen.
That's why I said one of these days without giving a specific.
Yeah. He drove off a cliff, you guys. He tried to commit suicide by driving his car off of a mountain road, resulting in a severe head injury. Double negative is gone now. So he's flipped the switch again. Yeah. So in 1986 as well, his occult rituals become more regular, and he started bringing cyanide to the hospital on a regular basis, just to have that on hand.
Just in case.
November 22nd, 1986, he killed Mose Thompson, who was 65, by giving him cyanide dissolved in water through a gastric tube. On November 9th of 86, he killed Otis Day, who was 72, by giving him cyanide solution. On December 10th, the following day, he killed Cleo Fish, who was 67, by giving her cyanide mixed with cranberry juice. He took a lock of her hair and burned it during his occult ceremony for Duncan. So whether or not Duncan actually exists, he does continue to take trophies from his...
I like how they just say the occult. Like, there's so many branches of the occult, and it's just like, oh, just the occult.
That's all that's like...
Like, all of the occult is just one...
Yeah, that's why part of
body.
me is like, was any of this happening? But he was meeting with somebody. He was with some group. I don't know in what way were they affiliated with the occult, or that they were, and that's just what he thought he was into, but...
It was like a Dungeons and Dragons thing. And he came out there like, dude, you take this shit way too fucking serious.
But he is pretty metal. He's fun to have around. He like kind of immerses us, so it's good to have
He's
him.
just your all-time DM.
So in later that year, right before the New Year's, he's going to poison Harold White and John Oldendick. I know. I knew I should have changed that. He poisoned Harold White and John Oldendick with arsenic. Doesn't matter the poison. He's just getting it and making it happen. The doses were too small to be fatal, and Harvey believes that in Oldendick's case, the dose of arsenic actually healed him because Oldendick got better and got out of the hospital.
He became young and dick?
So, not too young and dick, hopefully. Like January 10th of 1987, he's now 34 years old. He's going to kill Leo Parker, who is 47, by giving him cyanide in his feed bag. An autopsy failed to find that he was poisoned. Let me just give you one. So, yeah, no problem. On February...
Is he a horse? Why does he have a feed
That's what I was thinking.
Uncle Mo's family feed bag.
Please take the basket off my kid. Kid.
The fries are incredibly hot.
Uncle Mo, here I am. So on February 5th of 87, he killed Margaret Cucrow, who was 80, by giving her cyanide in her orange juice. In February of 87, he killed...
A screwdriver.
He's like, I'll set you up. I got it. Don't worry about the almond taste. In February of 1987, he killed Stella Lemon, who was 76, by giving her cyanide in the orange juice as well. This is becoming a favorite. He's like, well, the citric acid overpowers the cyanide. So she would die several weeks after the poisoning, but die nonetheless. On March 6th of 87, he killed Joseph Pike, who was 68, by feeding him Deticol, an adhesive remover, an intended use for colostomy bags. Because colostomy bag, not that crazy glue, so it's, you know...
You gotta hold all that poop in there.
Yeah, it's to clean that goo off your skin, and he just had someone drink it, I think. That's what it went down. Nope, Deticol through the feeding tube. So that's fun. He did the same thing the next day by killing Hilda Lights, who was 82. Also the Deticol. Goddamn. Same day, he killed John Powell, who was 44, by giving him cyanide with his gastric feeding tube, and an autopsy was performed. On the next day, the autopsy for John Powell was conducted in full by Dr. Lee Lehman, who was a forensic psychologist who had a background in biochemistry, knowing specifically about cyanide. This meant that he knew exactly what cyanide smelled like and how to identify that smell. When he cut open John Powell, he immediately smelled the smell of bitter almonds, or the telltale sign of cyanide, and knew that foul play was afoot. He then proceeded with the autopsy and sent samples to other labs in order to confirm that he thought that there was cyanide inside. The 3 labs said that of the samples that he sent in for confirmation, they could confirm that they were testing positive for cyanide. So this guy like opens the body up and goes, "Yep," and he like takes the samples he thinks he
Do you think
needs.
he does?
I'm not saying no because
Rubs it
I
on
wasn't
his
there. Oh,
Yeah,
God
that's
damn it.
pure.
Yeah. So 3 separate labs confirm what he thinks and do believe that they find cyanide in the system. Later that month, the Cincinnati police are notified of what's happening. In March and April of 87, investigation of John Powell's death completely begin. First of his food supply is going to be completely looked into. His wife is going to be questioned. Nurses at the hospital were interviewed, and during one of these interviews, Donald Harvey's name was brought up because of the questionable ending of the employment at the VA hospital. Hospital employees at this time were volunteering to take polygraph tests, and Donald volunteered to take one after buying a book on how to beat a lie detector test. Because
Smart.
why the fuck not?
Clever.
He called in sick the day of his scheduled appointment and ended up not taking the polygraph. Since he did not take the test, Donald was brought in for questioning. Detectives Jim Lawson and Ron Camden questioned him for quite a while, playing a bit of good cop, bad cop, until finally Donald confessed having put cyanide in John Powell's G-tube. He continued and explained that it was because he felt sorry for him and his family. He denied having ever done that to anybody else. On April 6th of 87, Donald was indicted for aggravated first-degree murder of John Powell. Soon after this, William Whalen was appointed his public defender. And on May 26th of 1987, a competency hearing was conducted by Dr. Schmidt-Gosling and Roger Fisher of a clinical psychologist. Question number 16. It's just yes or no. Did they deem him fit for trial? 3 yeses, all getting points. Yeah, they saw nothing wrong with him mentally. Maybe he's got some issues from the past, but he knew what he was doing, is what they're saying. Roger Fisher concluded that Harvey knew the difference between right and wrong and was able to conform and conduct to the law. He also concluded that Donald was free of any emotional disease and defect of the mind. Dr. Schmidt-Gosling concluded that Donald had a history of depression because of childhood experiences, but he was not and never had been psychotic. In June of 1987 on WCPO TV Evening News, Pat Minikaran questioned another reporter on the air about possibility that Harvey had been responsible for the deaths at the Drake Hospital. He then started receiving anonymous phone calls from nurses detailing other deaths that Donald had caused. So the old hospital they'd worked at, they're like, wait, he used to work here, and there's a bunch of these mysterious deaths. So the nurses start calling in and saying, like, yo, we might know a little bit about that. The detective would lead and meet with a lot of the nurses and start investigating even more, but was denied all of his investigations to the superintendent of the hospital because the nurses feared repercussions, since the hospital had stopped its investigations completely. So the hospital's like, well, we're cool off it. We got no reason for the police to be in here sniffing around about it.
Right.
Yeah.
We're above the law. He discovered that the pattern of deaths that Harvey's work schedule and Harvey's work schedule were very similar. So they like made this plot. It was kind of interesting where they're like, okay, here is all the days that the deaths are, and it like shows this little like pattern of, and then it's like, here's his work schedule, and they like lay it on top, and it just like matches up almost perfectly with a lot of these mysterious death schedules. He had all the information that he could get, but he couldn't use any of it on the air. This is this journalist. He went to Whalen and informed him of his story. This sent Whalen into a frenzy, trying to find out everything that happened and getting a plea bargain set. So Whalen, his defense attorney, thinks that he's done this one murder. This journalist goes, yo, I think he's done like fucking 15. Just giving you a heads up. So this defense attorney who's like,
That's
okay,
nice of him, though,
I got to
like,
defend this guy on this one fucking murder charge, and he's maybe a little crazy, but they're saying he's not. And then exactly. That journalist is like, yo, you're in for way more than you fucking think. Because just know that I'm going to break this story as soon as I can. You should know about it first, though. So big ups to him. But the defense attorney put the wheels in motion. He didn't consider an insanity plea anyway because Donald didn't want one. Whalen worked out a plea bargain that included that he confessed to all of the murders he had committed in return for taking the death penalty off the table. If he left any of his murders out, the deal was off the table completely. He confessed to several murders on July 9th of 1987. Question 17. How many people did he admit to killing on this day? July 9th, 1987. Okay, so Bigfoot said 5, Robbie said 14, and Josh said 31. Bigfoot's going to get 250 points because on this day, July 9th, 1987, he admitted to 10 moiters.
What'd you put?
5.
What'd you put?
14.
Oh, yeah. No, that's actually Robbie's points.
Dang, I thought this was like Price is Right. He went over, so he's...
It's Price is Right if you split the difference the exact same. But yeah, it was 4 and 5. I think I had 5 and 5 because I had 9. So yeah, sorry, Bigfoot. Robbie takes the lead.
Dang.
Just took him from you.
The math corrected. Hey, that's what happens, man.
Yeah.
This is like the NFL. Sometimes you score a touchdown, you go back and look at it, and you're like, well, you didn't score a touchdown.
I scored the touchdown.
Like I said, I just like to think of myself as a co-host.
Here, I'm going to give you a bonus.
No.
15
I don't want your
points.
pity
Okay,
points.
so Bigfoot
Take the
has 765. Josh has 1,500. Robbie has 1,750. It's not over yet, guys. 3 questions remain. But yes, he admits to 10 murders. There's also some assaults and some other things thrown in here. On August 18th, 1987, he gets charged for these crimes: the murder of Helen Metzger, the murder of Leon Nelson, the attempted murder of John Oldendick, the murder of Leo Parker, the murder of James Peluso, the murder of Joseph Pike, the murder of John Powell, murder of Edward Scheibreitz, the murder of Virgil Weddle, the attempted murder of Harold White and Edward Wilson in his home, and James Wood at the Drake Hospital. So yeah, motherfuck. He confessed to them all, so he was charged and indicted with all of them, but they took the death penalty off the table, so good for him, I guess. 1987, Hamilton County, Ohio, Harvey would go to court to hear his plea. There was no trial, no arguments from either attorney, just the reading of his indictments, which he pleaded guilty to each. Each of the 29 indictments was read. Since Harvey pleaded guilty to each, the judge went ahead with sentencing based on the plea agreement. He received 3 consecutive life terms with the minimum time actually served for a life sentence. That would be 20 years. So he's getting at least 60. Harvey would be incarcerated for, yes, at least 60 years. August 21st, 1987, since Harvey had been under a plea agreement, he was told by his attorney that if he admitted to any more murders in Hamilton County, that he could be a dead man because he's breaking the plea agreement. And that was the deal.
Right.
On January 22nd of 88, Harvey is indicted for 3 more murders at Drake of Nathaniel Watson, Doris Nally, and Henry Cody. He was indicted for 3 more counts of attempted murder there for Willie Johnson, Lawrence Bernsden, and Anna Hood. In 1988, he returned to Hamilton County to put a plea in court, which he was again faced Judge Matthews. This guy doesn't fucking like him at all either, obviously. He was sentenced to 20 years to life on each of the murders and 10 to 25 years for each of the attempted murders. The sentences were to run concurrently with the life terms he was already serving. Harvey had now been convicted of 28 counts of murder with 7 counts of attempted murder in Hamilton County, Ohio. Yeah. September 6th, Harvey agreed to a taped confession where he would provide names and details of deaths that he caused in the Marymount Hospital and would plead guilty to criminal charges brought by Laurel County grand jury. On September 9th, he confessed to some more murders. He's going to be charged and indicted with the murder of John Combs, a voluntary manslaughter of Eugene McQueen, the murder of Viola Reed Wyan, the murder of Elizabeth Wyatt, William Bowling, and Silas Butner, the murder of Maud Nichols, and the murder of Maggie Rollins. So every story we said, they're all, they can look back at the records, the day that he was there, the drugs that went missing, whatever, and it lines up for him. Although Harvey had confessed to killing 13 patients, only the 10 victims could be corroborated on this round. 3 of his claimed victims could not be identified. Later in 88, the grand jury returned indictments on 8 counts of murder. They returned 1 indictment of voluntary manslaughter, and Harvey pleaded guilty to all 9 counts. Circuit Judge Lewis Hopper sentenced him in life in prison for each murder and 20 years for the manslaughters, and the sentences to be served in the Ohio concurrently with the 3 life terms and the ones from before and the ones from before. On January 21st, 1988, he confessed 2 more murders. On January 21st, 1988. Question number 18. How many this time?
Separate from the previous.
This is another additional round of admissions of murder.
What year was this?
This would be 1988.
Right?
Okay.
Also, fun fact, there are 21 questions. I just found a question that I forgot about. Ooh. Sometimes they go hiding in here. Bigfoot says 8, 15 from Robbie, 12 from Josh. You got your points this time, Bigfoot. Good job, because it was just 3.
Wow.
There were some other wow. There were some other charges going on in there. One was the attempted murder of Lawrence Brenston, the murder of Henry Cody, the attempted murder of Anna Hood. So this is actually combined from the trial from before, but 3 that fully admitted to on this one. And in 1988, civil suits were brought on Hamilton County, which totaled a ton of fucking money, included families of the victims, the hospital administrators, and trustees. On March 1st of 88, attorney for Shelton Gillespie, the widower of Ruth Gillespie, filed a suit for compensatory damages to another suit in punitive damages against Donald Harvey, Daniel Drake, Memorial Hospital, Jan Taylor, and the Board of Hamilton County Commissioners. Question number, 19. What was the total amount for both cases that she was suing for? This is essentially all of, for the one, this is a widower saying, fucking suing for the wrongful death of my wife. I want money from you. I want money from the hospital, the board. You guys are all fucking me. Here's what I want. Okay. Bigfoot says 1.6 million. Josh said 1.8 million. Mm-hmm. And what'd you say again?
2 million.
2 million
Jesus
from Robbie.
Christ.
Well, Robbie, you were not even close, but you're going to get the points.
Oh, shit.
Because the total amount for the 2 lawsuits, $75 million.
Wow.
That lady's crazy.
Yeah. So Robbie takes another 250. He's up 2,000.
She values human life way more than I do.
Don't you just like calculate like what their lifetime earnings would be mixed
That
with
was
like, some
19,
distress?
right?
That's a lot.
Was it 19?
Yeah, but nobody scored on 18, right?
Oh, Casey got points, right?
Oh yeah, there we go. I didn't write them down. That's
They're pretty much pointless.
250.
I'm just trying to
You're
give up.
basically the same because you said there's 21 instead of 20. So
Yeah. So Robbie's in the lead with 2,000. Josh got 1,750. Casey pretty much dead in the water with 765.
Is Greg still here?
Yeah, he's chilling.
It's nap time.
No, he's chilling. He's a producer, man. He doesn't talk too much. You know, he does.
True.
He's
he
producing.
still looks like he's got dreadlocks under that beanie.
So Harvey had actually never even confessed to causing Ruth Gillespie's death, and her case was not covered in the plea bargain. But her husband Shelton had repeatedly gone in for the money and trying to get this lawsuit rolling. Donald had repeatedly denied that he had injured her in any way. Ironically, he was actually there to assist at her autopsy. April 13th, 1988, Jan Taylor, his supervisor at Drake, pleaded no contest to falsification of a public document as a part of a plea bargain, substituting that charge for the 4 counts of tampering with evidence. Taylor had added handwritten notes to Harvey's file indicating that 2 of his former employees had told Drake representatives that he was eligible for rehire. So they're telling everybody, like, they know that he might have murdered people, but they're like doing reference, and they're like, yeah, he's good. He's a good guy. Should hire him for sure. Yeah, lovely. Anybody have a doctor's appointment coming up? Or
Trying to pass the buck.
So yeah, that's kind of fucking scary. October of 1991, an agreement is reached on the Gillespie case. Question number 920. Of the $75 million being sued for, how much was the settlement said to be for? So it was a confidential settlement, but something came out a few years later where we believe we know how much it was for. $75 million being sued for. What is the amount Shelton Gillespie will settle for? Okay, Robbie said $2 million?
$5 million.
$5 million. Bigfoot said $2.1 million. Josh said $250,000. Josh is going to knot the thing up at 2,000 points all the way around because the settlement would be for somewhere in the area of $45,000.
Wow.
And no criminal charges would be filed.
So we value human life about the same.
We or
Me and her.
Okay.
Or him. Whoever was it. So
This is him.
him.
Yeah. Okay, one question left. You do
I don't
tied.
assume genders.
Greg,
so.
start thinking of a possible tiebreaker just in case Bigfoot's the one that answers the last question right, because it is someone scoring on it.
Interpretive dance
guessing.
off.
Yeah, so, yeah.
on Instagram Live.
What's that?
Now that's an idea.
On February 5th, 2003, jump ahead 12 years now, he's part of an interview on 60 Minutes featuring healthcare workers who killed patients. He indicated that the reason he got away with it for 17 years was that the doctors are overworked and sometimes don't even see the patients until after they die. He will be possible for parole in 2048 at the age of 96. Question number the last. In what year did Donald Harvey die? Not multiple choice on this. This one's just stab at it.
Day as well, or just the year?
Yeah, just the year's fine.
I'm going to be real mad if it's my first one. Be real sad.
Okay. Josh said 2017. Both Robbie and Bigfoot said that he is still alive. Josh is actually going to get to 3,000 points because he died March 30th, 2017.
Oh, shit!
I thought it was 2015 is what I was going to go with.
So on March 28th, 2017, authorities reported that Harvey had been found in his cell severely beaten. He died on March 30th, 2 days later, and his murderer is not known and will likely never be known. That is the story for Donald Harvey.
It's because he was a faggot.
God.
I know how the prison works. I know how the prison system goes.
You'd been in for 35 years to that point. So yeah, that's Donald Harvey. I would say in a nutshell, but we've been recording for 3 hours and 15 minutes. So that's
all.
That's just from clicking record. Yeah. You guys have been here for 5 hours. So congratulations, Josh! You've won this bloody business and anecdotal history of Scotland Yard.
There was a prize this time.
Gifts
Yeah, you didn't
now.
even tell us that, bro.
Yeah.
What, you would have
Holy
done
crap.
better if you'd known you were
Yeah.
getting a used book out of it.
Is this from a book barn?
I would have paid way
I
more
left the
close
pencil.
attention.
I left the pencil written price in there,
That's why I was like, it looks like this is from a book barn.
so you know how I ball out. I got a whole stack of used books over there.
I demand a recount on this then if we're gonna go prize.
Hanging chads everywhere.
Here, let me look. Yep.
Yep.
Josh, congratulations, man. When the prizes get cool, maybe I'll do some shit like that. So enjoy your hardback of like a $3 book. It's a fucking prize, all right? We're not balling out over here. I went to the book barn and bought a stack of true crime books. I was like, these are good prizes, man. So yeah, thanks guys for coming on. Congratulations, Josh, on your victory.
Thank you.
Is there anything you guys like to share? Anything you like to throw out here? Bigfoot.
Yeah. Follow me on Instagram. BIGGFOOT Designs. Maybe buy something.
You won't.
Yeah, if you don't, like, that's cool too. Just like double tap that pic.
Double tap, double tap, double tap. Josh, anything you want to share with the world?
No, let's just hit up that Patreon for this glorious podcast.
Once again, if
Appreciate
you
you.
donate or if you pledge $1,000 to the Patreon, you will get the first secret of Greg's cult.
His sex cult.
I don't think it's a sex cult. I don't
not
think
a
it's that
sex
at all. It's really just like, I mean, we got some fundamental truths for you, and if
I
you're
can only
willing to
disappoint
pay,
so many people in a day, and I feel like with a sex cult, it would be all of them.
but yeah, like, you know, give to that Patreon.
Thank you guys. Robbie, anything you'd like to share?
No, I can't follow that. I'm
Yeah,
good.
perfect. Hella Greg, anything you want to end it here with?
At Hella Greg on all your favorite social media, and I don't know. Stay tuned. I'm trying to put a cult together.
Yeah, stay tuned, please. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast. We appreciate all the love and support. Season 4 is going been fucking pretty goddamn fun so far. So, thanks for everybody for listening. Episode 84. Fuck Donald Harvey, and don't talk to strangers.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.